Today we will talk about Green River Community College's Nursing Assistant and Phlebotomy programs. Green River currently has 5 health science programs. In addition to the Phlebotomy and Nursing Assistant, we also have the Practical Nursing, Physical Therapist Assistant, and Occupational Therapy Assistant programs. Phlebotomy is a 12 to 14 credit program, and it runs for 1 quarter. 1 quarter is typically 11 to 12 weeks long. Usually the phlebotomy program is an evening program. The typical schedule would be Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 p.m. However, the clinicals that occur around the last month of the program are going to be during the day most likely. Application process is a first come, first serve, and they admit 16 students. So the first 16 students to turn in complete applications are offered admissions into the program. Everyone else would then be put on a wait list. If you do not get in for that quarter, but you are still interested in the following quarter, then you would want to contact Career and Advising in order to make sure your application is put in for that next quarter. Now, nursing assistant is very similar to phlebotomy as far as the makeup. However, it's only 12 credits, and it's going to be a day program usually. The clinicals would also be during the day as well, and those typically are going to be the last month of the program, just like phlebotomy. Like phlebotomy, it's also first come, first serve, but they admit 20 students, so it is a little larger. As far as requirements go for the nursing assistant phlebotomy programs, first off, you need to be 18 years old or older, and you need to score a 7 or higher on your Nelson-Denny reading assessment. The Nelson-Denny reading assessment can be taken over at the Assessment and Testing Center in the Welcome Center here on our main campus. If you get between a 7 and an 8, you would be enrolled in a special reading class, which is 1 credit, during the same time you're doing the program. If you score an 8 or higher, then you don't need to worry about that class. If you score below a 7, you would want to contact the Career and Advising Center regarding what you need to do from there. There is a special reading class that would have to be taken usually before you're allowed to retake the Nelson-Denny, but that is subject to change. The Nelson-Denny takes about 45 minutes, and it covers vocabulary, reading rate, and reading comprehension. Another requirement is a clean background. You're going to be going out into the community and having direct patient contact. And so it's important that the clinical facilities that are letting you in know that you have a clean background. There are 2 background checks that will be run as part of the admissions process. They're mostly looking for crimes against other people, such as domestic violence charges, theft, assault, basically crimes against other people. Also, you need to be a Green River student, and you can apply online. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And for the phlebotomy program, you probably will need to have your high school diploma or your GED. Proof of that can come in the form of a photocopy of your diploma, an official sealed transcript, or even an open transcript, as long as there's some documentation proving that you have a high school diploma or a GED. Nursing assistant, you do not need this though. As far as the application process goes, if you're not a Green River student yet, you'll want to apply, and again you can do that online. I'll show you later where you can go. You'll also need to fill out the application completely, and I will show you the application packet here in a moment. You'll need to complete the Nelson-Denny. Again, that can be taken care of over at the Assessment and Testing Center. Once you have your application packet filled out and copies of your Nelson-Denny reading results, then you'll submit that information in a 9x12 envelope to our Enrollment Services office here in the Lindblom Center. Once you've submitted your application, your next task will be to regularly check the email that you included on your application. So for example, if I have an email which is john.smith@gmail.com, and that's the one that I listed on the application, that would be the email account I want to regularly check, even if I have 4 other email accounts. Make sure you're checking the email that you put on your application. Once you get an email, you'll either get an email offering you admissions into the program, letting you know that your application is incomplete and telling you what you need to do from there, or telling you what number you would be on the wait list. If you get an admissions offer, then you'll click on a link that will be included in that admissions offer, and you'll fill out a brief form which will confirm your admissions offer. Basically, you're saying, yes, I accept my admissions offer. Once you accept that admissions offer, you'll come to an orientation. Usually the orientations happen about 2 weeks before the quarter begins. At that orientation, you'll have a chance to meet the faculty and find out what the expectations are going to be for the quarter. Also, if you've not yet submitted all your documentation for your immunizations, then you'll do that at that time as well. As far as the immunizations go, these need to be done before you can do your clinicals, because again, you're doing direct patient contact. The documentation needs to be directly from the provider, and it needs to include the name, credentials, signature, and the date that that vaccination was given. So please make sure all 4 of those things are included. If you've had the immunization in the past but you don't have proper documentation, typically a cheaper option for you versus getting the immunization over again would be to have a titer done. This is a blood test that you can find out whether or not you're immune to a specific disease. One of the more time-intensive immunizations that you'll need to do is the hepatitis B, and that's a 3-part series which is spread across 6 months. So this one you'll want to get started on right away. The programs may or may not require you to have the series completely done, so you may want to check in with the faculty regarding that. Another one that is important to turn your attention to would be the TB test. You need to have the 2-part done. The 2-part means that you're making 4 separate visits to your healthcare provider, twice for the injection, twice for the measurement. Oftentimes people get the 1-step TB thinking that it's the 2-step because they made 2 trips to the healthcare provider, but it's actually 4 trips to the healthcare provider constitutes that 2-step TB test. Your immunization should be done by the orientation for your nursing assistant. For phlebotomy, within the first week or so is acceptable. However, it is strongly recommended that you also have this done by the orientation, and it is subject to change. In the future, it may be due during the orientation. If you have the documentation at the time you apply, please include it in your application packet. The sooner this immunization documentation can be submitted, the sooner everything can be processed. Further information regarding the specific immunizations will be included in the application packet. In fact, there'll be a sheet listing out everything. I encourage you to take that to your healthcare provider, and together the 2 of you can figure out what needs to be done and what's already been accomplished. Lastly, it's important to find funding for your education. And a very helpful link I recommend everyone go to is www.gotocollegefree.com. On there you'll take a 5-minute free survey, and after that survey you'll be able to tell which programs you may or may not qualify for through our workforce education program. Now, next we'll go ahead and take a look at the application packet, and while we're at it, I'm also going to show you where you can go to apply to Green River. So if you go to greenriver.edu, it will bring you to the Green River homepage. Up here in the upper portion, the Apply Now button, you can click here, and again it takes about 10-15 minutes to apply to the college. As far as finding the actual application itself, if you come over here to Areas of Study and navigate to the nursing page, and at the bottom of the nursing page you'll find nursing applications. Click there. Now the location of these applications may change as a phlebotomy web page and nurse assistant web page come online, but currently they're housed in the practical nursing web page. So you'll be able to find both here for now, and again that could change depending on what they decide to do with the website in the future. The phlebotomy application is located here, and the nurse assistant application is going to be found down here. I'll go ahead and click on the nursing assistant application. From here we'll open up to a typable PDF. I encourage you to fill out as much as you can online, as it tends to be a little easier, and once you print it out you'll be able to fill in the rest using pen. The first portion here gives a brief description of the program. Also, Nurse Assistant does have an iBest option. If you're interested in iBest, when you come onto this application, go ahead and click on the link and find out more about it. Also located here, you can find the contact information for the individual that you need to connect with to find out more about iBest. You've got the requirements to apply it we've also covered already. And then down here, starting on page 2, this is the application form itself. So you would want to fill in the form. And then include your email here. With your phone number. Next, you want to select the quarter you're applying for. Summer starts late June, fall starts late September, winter starts early January, and spring either starts late March or early April. Now you're not going to be able to sign it electronically, so once you print it out, you can go ahead and take a pen and sign this portion. Please make sure you sign all the forms. If you do not sign the forms, your application will not be considered complete. Now step 2 lets you know what documents need to be included in that 9x12 envelope. You can see the nursing assistant application form, which is this page here, a photocopy of a valid photo ID such as a driver's license, and both background checks. That's going to be on pages 4 and 5. So if you navigate down here, the Washington State Patrol background check would be the first one. Again, you would fill out this portion here. Of course, you'll want to make sure you put in last name first. And then the other pertinent information below. And again, once you print it off, you'll need to make sure you sign and date this form as well. Page 6, this is the DSH's background check. You don't need to fill in anything in section 1. You would start filling in section 2. I recommend you fill this in electronically, as it's easier since you have pre-populated fields to help you. A word of caution here would be, starting on 8A, you'll notice that it says write none if none. If you leave this field blank, your application will be incomplete. So for example, if you look at print your, let's say, first name at birth. If you didn't have a first name for whatever reason at birth, you'd want to write in none. If you leave it blank, again, it will not be considered complete. Also, you'll want to fill out the information specific to your background and other contact info and residential info down here. Now, if you run across a field for some reason that won't let you type in it, once you print off the application, you can fill that part in hand. It's okay if your application includes printed information and handwritten information as well. Speaking of handwriting, again, you'll want to sign this form as well. So when all is said and done, 3 of the forms you're submitting should have your signature and date included. So those are the background checks. You'll also need to include your Nelson-Denny reading assessment results. Once you take the Nelson-Denny, they'll give you a printout with those results, and you'll submit that with your application. And like I mentioned earlier, if you can include documentation of some or all of your immunizations, that's strongly recommended that you do that as well. Again though, if you don't have all of it or you don't have any of it, you can still apply. Just make sure that you get everything in order and ready to go by the orientation. Once you've got all this collected in that 9x12 envelope, again you would take it to our enrollment services. Regularly check your email, and if you get into the program, make sure you attend that orientation. Listed on page 3 and 4 is information that I recommend you keep. Page 3 lists out what you need to do after you're admitted into the program. Again, here it talks a little bit about immunizations. Down here, you'll see information and things that you're going to need for class. Liability insurance can be purchased at Green River's cashier office. It's on the second floor of the Lindblom Center, and it costs about $21. Also down below, you'll see a list of what you need for the actual program. Notice that there's a lot more to it than just books. You also have a uniform and specific supplies. These are going to be different for phlebotomy. Most of these can be purchased at the Green River bookstore, with the exception of the white leather duty shoes. For phlebotomy, your phlebotomy kit may or may not be through the bookstore as well. But if you go to Green River's bookstore, they'll be able to let you know what you need and will be able to show you where it's at. If you're getting funding through a specific funding source, they may even have a bookstore account set up with you, or you would go to the bookstore and they would already have your information there and take care of you. Page 4 lists out the immunizations. So like I mentioned earlier, I recommend you take this to your healthcare provider, and together you can go through this. Included on here at the bottom portion, if you have specific questions about the documentation, I recommend you contact Dana McCauley. She's the lab tech to the program. Her email can be found here. And that would conclude a review of the application. If you have any questions after watching this information session, you may email Byron Ford, and that email is B as in boy, F as in Frank, O as in October, R as in rhinoceros, D as in dog, @greenriver.edu. And thank you for watching.